in a town where whispers carried louder than the church bells and judgment rode heavier than the dust storms, there lived a woman named Clara whose face carried both beauty and sorrow in equal measure, for she had endured what no heart should be asked to bear. Married young to a man named Harlan, she had dreamed of a home filled with laughter, love, and warmth, but the reality had become a nightmare stitched in bruises and tears, because Harlan, hardened by his own bitterness and the weight of unmet expectations, saw no worth in her or in the daughters she brought into the world. 3 little girls with wide eyes and laughter as soft as morning doves, children who deserved love but were instead met with scorn. And every time Clara birthed another daughter, his rage deepened, his voice sharper, his fists crueler, until her nights became endless prayers that the Lord would spare her and her girls from one more storm of violence. Yet Clara held on, not for herself but for those little ones who clung to her skirts, whispering, "Mama, don't cry," with innocence that broke her heart further. And though she lived in fear, she carried a flame of hope deep within her chest that one day someone, somewhere would see her worth, and give them a chance at a life beyond shame and suffering. It was in this same town, where cruelty often hid behind closed doors, that a man named Elias rode back into people's lives, a widowed cowboy whose name carried with it stories of loss, for he had once had a wife and child who both died to fever years ago, leaving him a quiet man who spoke more with his eyes than his mouth. A man who worked his ranch with steady hands and never asked for pity, but beneath the brim of his weathered hat lived a heart that still longed for family, still longed for connection. Even as he told himself those dreams had been buried with the ones he loved. And when Elias first saw Clara, it was in the town square, her youngest clinging to her arm while Harlan dragged her by the other, anger burning in his eyes because she had spoken up when he insulted her. And though folks pretended not to see, Elias could not unsee it. He stepped forward, his shadow falling across them, and in that moment his voice, calm but firm, cut through the tension as he said, "That's enough," making Harlan turn with a sneer, asking what business this cowboy had in another man's household. But Elias did not flinch, only looked at Clara and her daughters as if they were the most important souls in that moment, and Harlan's prideful rage clashed with Elias's quiet strength. For bullies often collapse in the face of those who do not fear them. And though fists were threatened and words spat, the truth was that Elias's presence alone shifted something in Clara's world. For the first time in years, she felt that maybe there was someone who would not let her fall unseen. Days passed, but Elias's heart had been stirred, and he found himself riding past their home more often, offering small kindnesses like fixing a fence, leaving sacks of grain, or handing the girls sweets from town. Gestures that at first made Clara wary because kindness had always come with cost. But slowly she realized this man expected nothing in return, that he simply could not bear to watch them suffer, and her daughters, bright with curiosity, began to run to him when he came, their laughter echoing louder than it ever had under their father's roof. And though Harlan fumed, Elias stood his ground, until one night Harlan's violence went too far and Clara, beaten and bruised, carried her daughters out into the street under the moonlight, their sobs muffled in her arms as she collapsed near the church steps. Where Elias found them, he lifted them gently, his arms strong yet tender, and when Clara whispered through broken lips that she feared she could not go on, Elias pressed his hand against hers and said, "You've done enough alone. Clara, if he won't raise them with pride, then let me raise them proud." Words that shook her soul because, for the first time, a man did not curse her for birthing daughters but blessed her for it, saw her children not as burdens but as treasures. And in that moment, surrounded by the quiet night, Clara wept tears not of fear but of release. The town would soon buzz with scandal when they saw her move to Elias's ranch, when they saw a widowed cowboy take in not only a broken woman but her 3 daughters. But gossip held no power over the peace and healing that began to grow there. For Elias taught those girls how to ride horses, how to mend fences, how to lift their chins and walk proud, reminding them each day that they were strong, that they were worthy, that they were the kind of daughters any man should thank God for. And Clara, though scarred, found her spirit mending as she watched the girls bloom beneath his care, her heart trembling with the strange new feeling of safety and eventually of love. The cowboy who had once thought he was done with family had found it again, not in the way he expected, but in the way his soul had needed all along. And Clara, who had once thought her life would be nothing but suffering, discovered that sometimes angels do not come with wings but with dusty boots, calloused hands, and the courage to stand when no one else will. So, dear listeners, if this story touched your heart, if you felt the strength of Clara's courage and the power of Elias's promise, then don't let it end here. Make sure you subscribe to the channel for more stories like this, where love conquers cruelty, where hope rises from despair, and where every tale reminds us that no matter how broken the world tries to make us, there is always someone who will see our worth and help us stand tall again.